I wanted to share with you guys today a recipe for making chicken torpedoes. They're actually a lot easier to feed my scissor beak than gavage feeding him. I feel like he actually gets to taste real food and feel real food actually go in his mouth and go down his throat and into his digestive tract more so than just gavage feeding. And doing the torpedoes, I feel like he's getting more nutrition that's condensed, whereas with the tube feeding, he was getting a little bit too much water. He has a big automatic water in his coop, so he gets plenty of water just whenever he wants it. So this doing the torpedoes, it can actually give him a little bit more nutrition, I feel like, which has helped to have him gain weight. So this is what I have so far. What I do is I get a bowl and I put chicken, I don't know if you can see it too clear, chicken food, and it's just crumble, and I have some there. And then I add, coconut oil, maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons. It kind of depends on how big of a batch I want to make. I mix it in with eggs, and so I'm not sure if I'm going to need one more egg. I have 2 eggs in here right now. And then I always add avian health shake. I don't know if you can see that. This is like a super supplement, and I just like to make sure that he gets a little bit extra. And then not every time, but I do add occasionally some chick grit. And so I'll add that after I've really kind of mixed it up. So what I do is I just mix it up. I'm going to do it in a minute, and then I let it sit in the refrigerator for, a minimum of 30 minutes. And then once it sits, I have to then mix it up a little bit more, and then I'll know whether or not I need to add another egg to absorb it all. Okay, so here you can see this is the mush that I just took out of the refrigerator. I did mix it up a little bit more just to kind of get any of the dried crumble that needed to be mixed up more. And then I just roll them in my hand, and those are the torpedoes. So they're about good size. You can make them as big or as little as you want. And they're firm, not too wet. But when you do it, you kind of figure out what works best for you and your chicken. So I'm going to feed Scout. These are torpedoes. I made them in advance, and this is how I make a bunch and keep in the refrigerator. But he goes through about 14 or 50, so you can tell he's actually really hungry right now. So the best thing to do when you're going to give torpedoes, because he's got a scissor beak, is you really anchor him into your side. So you use your elbow, and I just kind of go on the top of his head. I have this in my hand, and he wants it. I grab a hold of his beak, and I aim for the side of his mouth.
I'm going to go away so I can...
Okay. So I always let him ask me. And it's really pretty easy. He looks like he's fighting, but he actually wants it. Let's go. So kind of let him go at his own pace. And when you do it, these are nice and firm. They're not mushy, or they would kind of fall apart in his mouth. But I kind of do a hook. I don't go straight back. Hook it down. And if my finger goes in his mouth, it's not a big deal. He doesn't seem to mind it. I don't have too long nails, but he's always asking for it. You ready? So the key for me is holding on to the top of his beak with these 2 fingers, and this finger I use for his scissor beak. Since he goes to the left, I use this finger to kind of open his mouth just a tiny bit. And by turning his head a little bit, it kind of shows the side of his mouth. So you kind of have to play with the right size. Like, that's kind of a big one. What do you see, Scout? So it goes in pretty easy. If you have a hard time holding your chicken, you can always cut off a sleeve off of the sweatshirt and put it over so that the wings aren't flapping around. But he's actually really pretty good about it. And he actually gets to taste the food and feel like something is actually going down his throat. You want one more? And then the dog will always eat the rest of whatever drops off. Okay, that's it. Now he goes back in with his ladies.